Guys, welcome back to another Wednesday night live mock draft stream. Man, it's August 20th. We're fully in fantasy football season. Hopefully you guys got some drafts either going or this weekend, and Labor Day weekend right around the corner. I actually just wrapped up my first slow draft redraft of the year. That was a fun team. It's a standard league keeper team. We call it the old man league, but we're in the middle of draft season. And we're just doing another mock draft, man. This is, I think next week we got one more Wednesday night mock draft show, and then we'll be doing the fellowship Wednesday night Wednesday Labor Day real draft. So it was so hard to get into a lobby, and like I would refresh it, and it'd be like boom, 8 of 12, and I'm like I gotta find a lobby that not a lot of people are in for the people. So good evening to everybody. Harris, Tony, I see Aiden in there. Gullies, good evening, and Mr. Magic all in here. I wanted to kind of open it up. Like, we're a little early because I had to wait 5 minutes to get into a lobby. But what do you guys want to do for a sleeper mock draft tonight? Should we just run it back with a 12-team super flex? Do you guys just want a straight-up 12-team regular draft as we're doing on ESPN? Let me know what you guys want to do. Gullies, we got the 8th pick this year in my 10-man league, 3K pot. Fantastic, man. That's a big league. I can't do the math in my head, but I'm assuming that's a pretty big buy-in. Curious how many people are going to try different strategies in a 10-man league. So, yeah, we can do a 10-man draft over on Sleeper if you guys wish. We still have a few minutes to get this one filled out, but let me just work on the settings here. Are we thinking just like a 10-man full PPR situation over here on Sleeper? And I'm going to get rid of the super flex here. I'm going to leave. Yeah, we're going to do a 10-team league here. Do you guys want me to leave 2 flexes? I go 2 running back, 2 receiver, 2 flexes. I can throw in some defense kicker action if you guys want, but otherwise I kind of just like drafting flexes to see where people are going. Let me look and see what this other trade was. I did see the Devon Vele trade. I thought that was interesting. I liked Devon Vele for a little bit there with Denver. Actually, I finally had to move Troy Franklin ahead of him last week, but I do think I think Troy Franklin, man, they must really like what they got there. And, they got the rookie. Wow, Sky Moore just got traded. Sky Moore to the 49ers in a 6th, 7th round swap. Interesting. Yeah, who's the Johnson pick? All right, give me 1 second, folks. You guys keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to set up this league here. 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 receiver. We'll throw 2 flexes in there. We're not going to care about kickers' defenses. We're just going to draft straight up, and we'll see how it goes. There is the sleeper link for everybody. If you guys want to draft with me, pick your spots, whatever. I'll grab a spot later because I don't have a dog in this race. So if you guys are practicing for a specific draft, please grab your spot. And we'll start this after the ESPN. And I'm going to double back to some of these comments and see what's going on here. Should we double tap running back with CMC with a Jacobs or get AJ Brown in the 2nd? You got the 8th pick this year. I think that might be a little too high for AJ Brown for my liking. I think I'd rather grab a Nico Collins or maybe even a Drake London there if possible. I really like starting 2 receivers, but I get the urge, man. You want to make sure you get at least 1 running back early. In a 10-man league, you might still find one that you like in the 3rd round, but I think starting balanced here, grab your favorite running back and then evaluate. If it's Nico, London, if you want AJ Brown, I think that's totally fine. The receivers are going to look a little different in the 3rd, so I think staying balanced is what I'm going to recommend. Johnson, Terry McLaurin, James Conner. Who's the Johnson here? Caleb Johnson. Well, Caleb Johnson's last for redraft purposes. I want James Conner on my team. If I had to, F, marry, kill, I'm gonna or bench, sit, and cut. We're gonna or start, bench, cut. We're starting James Conner. We're gonna bench Terry. We're gonna cut Caleb Johnson. So that's the order there. Yeah, and I mean Sky Moore at this point, he's basically just a special teamer kind of guy. The Chiefs can find a way to utilize him in some ways on special teams and just be an emergency wide receiver 5 probably. So nothing really for fantasy. Really, the Chiefs or the 49ers have been kind of ravaged at the wide receiver position this summer. So they just need bodies over there. They keep losing them. And then I think the main thing is they just lost Demarcus Robinson got suspended for 3 games, a DUI. So that is probably why they went and moved for a wide receiver. And good evening to Kyle. Do you keep Josh Allen or Derrick Henry? 12-man, half PPR. I draft 10th, Henry in the 1st, and Allen in the 3rd. You're not really getting a value on either one of these guys. For me, I'm probably just going to take Josh Allen in the 3rd. I think you can find a good enough pick there at the 10th spot, and you always have I know Josh Allen's not going to fall off unless he gets hurt. We still have that Derrick Henry age creeping up there. I'm probably just going to lean with Josh Allen because both these guys have the ability to just go nuts and win your Sunday for you. But for me, I'm going to go with youth Josh Allen. You really can't go wrong. Interesting. Yeah, Sky Moore had a really fun summer. One of the two, his first or second summer, man. I think it was his year 2 where I was drafting him quite a bit. Oh, we're at the 105. Yeah, then I think I stay balanced and you see if a receiver comes back. Otherwise, I don't mind going receiver running back and looking at Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor or someone in the 2nd round here. I think you're going to get a good one round 2, a good running back. Receivers we don't know what we're going to be looking at yet. Are you confident with the first 2 picks to be McCaffrey and Neighbors as 8th pick and available? I haven't really been in on Neighbors all year. I'm nervous about the toe, the back, the quarterback play. I do think Jackson Dart's really exciting, but for me, where Neighbors is going to be drafted, I like Nico, Brian Thomas, and Drake London more than Malik Neighbors at that price. So I kind of pass on Neighbors. If you can get him in the 2nd round, though, I think that changes things a little bit. I feel better about Christian McCaffrey, honestly, than I do about Malik Neighbors right now. I think McCaffrey's set up to be pretty exciting this season. And yeah, Drake London is he's one of my favorite guys to pick this year. And I think tomorrow night I'm going to do one of those videos where I just talk about all 32 teams and I get as much information out tomorrow night as possible. So we'll get some more information on those guys, but I'm all in on Nico, Brian Thomas, London. We want to get Ertz around 3 or 4. I can't knock that. Yeah, the Achane news is a little concerning, and just not even just the Achane stuff. It's the whole atmosphere in Miami seems not so sturdy, right? You got Tyreek Hill doing whatever he wants. The defense is bad. The offensive line is suspect. Tua's in and out of the lineup. Just a lot of questions in Miami, man. Whereas right now, I did finally move Genty ahead of Achane, and I think Achane's my RB6. I believe he's my RB6. And I think the Puka thing is finally settled for me where I want Puka on my teams. I'm going to be picking here 8th overall. Puka just went. I think I'm just going to run in Justin Jefferson. I am pretty excited about what J.J. McCarthy can do. And I have Jefferson, I think, ranked 6th overall. So he would be my preference here with this pick. I do prefer CeeDee Lamb over Justin Jefferson if I have the choice. But for me, I'm going to take the best receiver in football potentially and see what J.J. McCarthy can do for him. But with Matthew Stafford back at practice for a couple days in a row, we're still 3 weeks away from these teams playing football. So I think Stafford is probably back on track to being ready to go. And I think we can start getting a little bit less scared about the Rams position players. And hey, good evening to Brett Jones. Is Troy Franklin worth a pickup in a redraft 12-team league? I don't think he's quite there yet. I think he's going to be, he's going to be the wide receiver 3. You got Sutton, you got Marvin Mims, who they're going to rotate in there. And then Franklin does have the ability to be the number 3 receiver. But you also have Evan Ingram out there. In terms of target potential. He's probably the 4th target and maybe even the 5th target. We got to see how Pat Bryant folds into this offense as well. So I'm not quite there on Troy Franklin. I think in a deeper dynasty league, if someone dropped Troy Franklin, that's probably where I'm adding him. But for me, like, I don't really want to add a lot of, number 3, number 4 targets on a team. Really, I don't know if we're going to see him hop Marvin Mims in terms of snaps. That would be the first data point that would get me excited to add Franklin. But unless you have someone that you could really be okay with cutting, I'm probably going to leave Franklin on the waiver wire for now. Yeah, I'm all in on Nico Collins. I know he's had some injury issues in the past few years, but I think he's like a top 5 receiver in the NFL, just, on talent alone. And we'll see what comes back to me here. I like this board for me. Derrick Henry just went. You're going to give me Drake London to go with Justin Jefferson. I like that quite a bit. I am very, very interested, though, in Josh Jacobs. Here, I think he's in for another big season, and Marshawn Lloyd just can't stay healthy. So, to me, Jacobs, if you wanted to wait for Jacobs in the middle of the second round, I think he's probably as safe as they come. But I'm going to take Drake London here, man. And I know I kind of preached balance earlier. We'll take a look at running back when it comes back around. It might not look great, but I can't pass up on 2 potential top 5 receivers. I think Kirk is a good bench pick this season. And that's kind of how I've always had him ranked all season. I've never had Jaden Higgins getting more targets or running more routes than Christian Kirk. And if you think about it, Christian Kirk and CJ Stroud, man, like I think it's a good marriage between the two. Kirk's going to be a big slot player for CJ Stroud, and Stroud has shown the ability to pepper his slot with targets, whether it was Diggs or Tank Dell in the past couple of years. I think it's not going to be like an amazing pick, but I think it's a guy that you could find yourself using more often than not, and having to think about, do I start Christian Kirk this week or do I play DeMonta Smith, stuff like that. So Brian Robinson Jr., man, in a dynasty format, you got to hold on to him. You can't be selling him here while, there's blood in the streets and things like that. The opportunity for him to get cut or traded seems like it's 100%. Like, he's not going to be on the Commanders in the coming weeks. And it's just a matter of like where he goes. Like, I think the top few teams that would make me interested, of course, Chicago, they need someone there that can be kind of a primary ball carrier. I know we like the rookie and Roshan Johnson's there, but Brian Robinson would be decent there. Houston is the easy one, especially if we see Joe Mixon go on PUP list to start the year. If he goes to Houston, you might be pretty excited about that outlook, and you can maybe think of him as like a low-end RB2, probably like a running back 3 flex. So I think for now, the bottom, you got to let the bottom just hit for Brian Robinson value. We'll see where he lays. Maybe the Cowboys, like, what if the Cowboys cut Miles Sanders and go get Brian Robinson? There's a lot of what ifs. It's really going to depend on where he goes. I don't think I see any potential, maybe besides Houston, where he could be the primary ball carrier right away. And at this point, it's going to be patience required for Brian Robinson. He's not a game-changing back. He's a very good quality, running back, but he's not going to he's never going to be elite at anything. I'm still taking Ladd McConkey over JSN. I just think the overall atmosphere is going to be more happy for Chargers, and Ladd McConkey is really good, man. We saw last year him kind of be a league winner down the stretch. JSN had his moments too, but I think I'm going to give Justin Herbert the benefit of the doubt. And I still expect Ladd McConkey to be the leading receiver there. I do like Jaden Daniels here. I like JSN here. I love Omarion Hampton here. He's probably going to be the pick for me at this point. I just want to be bullish on first-round rookie running backs, man. And I see James Cook's there. I do like James Cook, but we still haven't seen Najee Harris practice once with his new team. I'm going to continue to take Omarion Hampton, and yes, I think Ladd over JSN for me, but it's close. If I were to look at my rankings, I probably have Ladd like wide receiver 10 and JSN like wide receiver 11. It's like right back to back. I think he's probably towards the higher end of his value, but when you compare him to some of the other guys being drafted around him, I don't really feel a lot of safety with these running backs on the board, whereas I know Hampton is a first-round rookie pick. He's on a team that wants to run the ball from Harbaugh, and they also have Justin Herbert where he can just catch a lot of passes and things like that. And I think he could be like, we don't know how good he is yet in the NFL. He could be amazing. Whereas I know a lot of these guys are good, but I can poke holes in a lot of their in a lot of their games. So for me, I'm going to continue to take a swing at Omarion Hampton being a potentially top 10, top 12 running back this season. And we're on deck here. I'm not super in love with the, like, you know, for me, like I still, to me, TreVeyon Henderson in the 4th round, it's still really, really rich for me to draft a receiving back here. I wish he did have more of a base role. I do like Henderson quite a bit, but I'm going to probably roll the dice here. Joe Burrow, pretty cheap here. I get him a few picks past ADP if I want, but I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, man, this Rashee Rice stuff is kind of weird. I think Xavier Worthy, if you look at his numbers during the playoff stretch, Xavier Worthy was absolutely insane here. But you know what? I'm going to do something that I haven't done before. We're going to take 2 rookie running backs, Omarion Hampton and TreVeyon Henderson, and we're going to see what we can do with this group. Honestly, I think Alec Pierce loses a little bit of value with Daniel Jones. I think Richardson and the deep ball, it was a good fit for Alec Pierce. Pierce is probably just a low-end dynasty hold at this point for redraft. I don't want him on my team. You're never going to feel good starting him, especially as I kind of view him as like the 4th target in that offense. You got Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman Jr. as the top 3 guys. For redraft, I'm not much interested in Alec Pierce at all. For dynasty, though, I'm going to hold on to him and see what happens. But he's probably a guy that's never going to be really someone that I'm super excited about. Yeah, I do feel bad about the offensive line in LA losing Slater. They're going to move their other, I can't remember his name, but they got another, it was their other tackle. They're going to move him to the other side, and they're going to put in, I think, Trey Pipkins, which is fine. So I think they can hold up okay, but I still want to bet on the Chargers offense. I think we're going to look back maybe as soon as the end of this year and be like, holy smokes, like this was a fantastic running back class. And I do think there's probably 3, 4, 5 receivers that we're going to be like, holy smokes, like this was a fantastic 2025 NFL draft class. I do think there's probably 4 or 5 starting running backs that we're going to leave in our RB1 or RB2 spot all year. And then it's just a matter of, the Matthew Goldens, the Egbukas, Travis Hunter, are these guys going to be players that we can trust in our lineups every week? But I do think that we finally got a little lucky, and we're seeing a lot of role players that we can depend on right away as rookies. Let's talk about the Colts for a little bit. I am disappointed that they're not going to give Richardson a try, but I totally get it. If Daniel Jones, gets hurt, that's when we're going to see Richardson. I don't think they're going to bench Jones unless it's like really, really bad. But let me make this pick real quick here. There's a lot of players that I like for my flex wide receiver 3. I really like George Pickens here, but I'm going to try something a little different. I'm pretty high on Jameson Williams being, an 1,100-yard receiver, maybe 8, 9, 10 touchdowns. He does have some rushing volume, and it gets me exposure to the Lions offense. So we'll take Jameson Williams there. But the Colts offense, man, this is Jonathan Taylor. I think if you're looking for a running back in the 2nd round, like Jonathan Taylor is the ideal back because he's going to get his 300-plus touches, whether that's 300 carries and then, whatever 20, 30 receptions on top of that. But I think having Daniel Jones there, it's going to make the offense, convert more short yardage throws and first downs and things like that. So they might get more first downs, which would lead to more Jonathan Taylor rushing attempts and all that stuff. So I do think it's better for the overall offense. I think it's better for the receiving options there as well, like Tyler Warren, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, like those guys all kind of get a little breath of life with Daniel Jones. So it is better for the overall offense. When Richardson was QB, like I only wanted JT and Anthony Richardson. So I'm interested to see how this goes, man. And I still think Anthony Richardson might play at some point this season. All right. Charlene's a big Darren Waller guy. And we'll see how it goes. I think Darren Waller on our bench, and we'll see how week 1 goes, and we might be able to have a guy at our tight end 1 spot. Yeah, I think the whole Jets running back field is pretty messy. And I know a lot of people like Braylon Allen right now, but I'm just like, when we're dividing the pie by 3 and you have a rushing quarterback and none of these running backs really have a receiving profile with Justin Fields throwing the ball, I am pretty nervous. It does look like Isaiah Davis could be the receiving down back, though, which is nice for 2-minute drills and third down work. Let me make a pick real quick here. And ESPN is still too low, but like this is where you guys should be clicking on Emeka Egbuka, guys. He's right up there with Devonta. Like he's in the wide receiver 30 range for me now. And I just think with Chris Godwin probably on the PUP list, and then now the Jalen McMillan injury, we should be moving Egbuka up our boards as far as the 6th round. And that's kind of, and I'm going a lot of rookies here, but yeah, you got to understand, I've done so many of these mock drafts. I'm trying to just put out more good names and good picks for everybody here. And I care less about this team specifically, but I just want to give you guys good information. But Isaiah Davis, not really a guy that needs to be drafted. Because again, they're going to give the bulk of the work to Breece and to Braylon. And then, if anything happens to one of those top 2 guys, we'll probably talk about Isaiah Davis on the waiver wire. I just don't think he's draftable right now, but he's going to be annoying. Like if you have Breece Hall, you're going to be like, what the hell is this Isaiah Davis dude catching, a 3rd and 4 for the first down? Like, where's my Breece Hall dink and dunk passes? So for me, I'm just completely off the Jets running backs. And if I'm going to draft a Jet at all, I think it's just Justin Fields. I think that's the best way to operate the Jets offense this season, but I don't like Garrett Wilson. There's just a lot of question marks on the Jets offense. Yeah. And I do like Tyler Warren. He's been a guy that, especially with the preseason action that we've seen, it looks like he's going to be a priority in the passing game. And I don't think it's crazy to see maybe Tyler Warren end up catching 65, 70 passes this year. He could easily be a top 10 tight end. We've seen rookie tight ends kind of, be a factor right away in the last couple of years. I think he's clearly ahead of Loveland. If you're waiting for a rookie tight end, like Warren is the guy to pick. And because of the receiver depth, we got Downs, Pittman, Pierce, A.D. Mitchell. I really don't feel good about any of those guys, really. I do think Josh Downs is the one that I want if I had to do it. But if I'm ranking my likeliness of drafting a Colts player, it's Jonathan Taylor and a huge gap down. And it's probably Tyler Warren's the next guy that I'm comfortable taking from the Colts. Again, we're still a few weeks away. I know McMillan popped up with that injury. Let me see if there's a news blurb on Mr. Tep McMillan. So not practicing with the hamstring. I don't love hamstrings right now. It's a little tight. He did get a larger preseason workload. They're not really saying anything yet. I do think, in this 5th round range, I think that's still a good price for him. I'm taking Jameson Williams for sure over him. I'm probably taking George Pickens like Harris did. So I'm not ready to panic yet. If you're drafting this weekend, I think it's fine. But if you are nervous, there's plenty of other good receivers in that range if you're a little bit slightly nervous there. But we're on the clock here. Michael Pittman, Cooper Kupp, Steph Diggs. I do like Tyrone Tracy quite a bit from the Giants here. But man, like you're just going to give me my guy every time. I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him every time. Jaylen Warren. I love Jaylen Warren. Ben Sinnott. At this point, there's not really any news on him. Really, Zach Ertz is the tight end. Sinnott's just a dynasty hold at this point, and we really don't have much of a reason to hold on to him at this point. Like if you are able to go pick up a tight end like Theo Johnson or somebody like that, or Sanders from Carolina, I think I'm probably trying to do that. I might even add like Noah Gray, someone that's more on the cusp of potentially making an impact. I like Ben Sinnott. I don't know if he's even the starter next year. Maybe Zach Ertz is back. Maybe they get a different guy. Maybe they trade for David Njoku. Crazier things could happen. So I think Ben Sinnott's, I don't know if he's going to be much of a factor for us. I usually try to stay away from guys with injuries. I know Justin Jefferson's got a hamstring. But that, to me, this one's a little different. Like, he's the best player on the Vikings, and they want to be extra cautious with him. He doesn't need to practice much. McMillan didn't need to practice. So preferably, I don't want soft tissue injuries to my players on my team going into the year. Mo Cox is there. Don't start. It's too early for this, Charlene. Yeah. We'll talk about the Dolphins backups here in a second. We should probably talk about the Commanders backfield too, and how I'm navigating that, because that's a big one. But the Dolphins are interesting, man. I want to like Jaylen Wright, but it doesn't feel very concrete. It doesn't feel like a solid hit on a pick. Whereas Ollie Gordon could easily hop Jaylen Wright at some point. But hey, we're on the clock here. Y'all gonna let me have Tricky Ricky Pearsall. And we are just loading up here on running backs and receiver talent. I really like this team. We now have Jefferson, London, Jameson, Egbuka, and Ricky Pearsall. That might be enough for me. 5 pretty good receivers. And then the running backs, Omarion, Hampton, Trey Henderson, Jaylen Warren. We'll continue to draft running backs. But to look at the Dolphins here, it really depends, man. They're going to give Jaylen Wright every chance to be the RB2 to start the year. But am I going to be surprised if by week 7, 8, it's Ollie Gordon getting the goal line touchdowns or opportunities? Probably not. I think in a dynasty format, like, Gordon should be owned. In a redraft format, I'm still going to take a chance on Jaylen Wright late in the draft because he's going to get the first crack at it. But if you week 1, 2, 3, if we get a little bit of news and things are moving that way, we could easily add Ollie Gordon in a redraft to start the year. And then how am I navigating? What did I do to my rankings for the Washington Commanders? I've completely removed Brian Robinson from the team. And for now, I do have Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt leading the team in carries. I have Chris Rodriguez second in carries. And I have Austin Ekeler third in carries, but the leader in receptions. And I think the short answer is, if I want any of these guys, it's probably just Austin Ekeler. In a PPR league, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Rodriguez they're not going to have – it's like we're taking Brian Robinson's role and we're going to divide it into 2 between Merritt and Chris Rodriguez, which just isn't all that exciting. I do think there's a chance. And hey, we've seen Chris Rodriguez for 2 years. He's good. He's capable. Doesn't offer a lot of juice. He's more of a thumper. Whereas Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, man, like, we could just be looking around and be like, he is the best guy, and they have to give him 15, 20 touches. So in terms of ranking them, I'm going to take Austin Ekeler here to put on my bench, because in the full PPR league, I still think he's going to get 7, 8 carries a game, and he's going to catch 3, 4 passes and he's going to be the trusted back in big situations. But I do want to take a chance on Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt later. It's not close. Like, Tyreek Hill is just not on my board this year. One, he's a bit of a knucklehead. I just don't like knuckleheads on my team. And 2, the decline the last couple of years, it's very clear that he's losing speed and losing game and probably losing some brain cells at this point. So I'm just completely out on Tyreek Hill. If you want to risk it, I think it's fine. But I'm going to take a chance on Marvin Harrison Jr. year 2 ascension. Yeah, he's still a freak, but man, I don't want to trust it. I think for where Tyreek is being selected, like, there's so many other better guys. At this point, I'll take one of the quarterbacks, Lamar, Allen, Ertz, for sure. I'd probably take Hampton. I'm taking JSN for sure. Honestly, I moved Tyreek Hill down pretty far. I think he's in like my wide receiver 30. Like, I'd rather have Jameson Williams than Tyreek Hill, honestly. Yeah, MHJ for sure, guys. We're on the clock in a second. I still don't have a tight end, and that doesn't bother me. I've been playing the wait for empty game at QB, and we're going to get my 6th ranked QB here, my 6th highest projected QB, and that's Dak Prescott. I didn't get Lamb. I didn't get George Pickens, but I do think you're going to want to get some kind of access to this Dallas Cowboys passing offense this year. I think Pickens on the Cowboys is a big deal. He's easily the best wide receiver talent opposite CeeDee Lamb that they've had in the last few years. And people forget, man, but Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, they put on an absolute show in 2023. Like Dak was MVP runner up that year. He could easily lead the league in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and he does get enough rushing volume and potential rushing touchdowns to not make me hate it there. But to me, Dak Prescott remains one of my favorite QB options. And hey, we're still 3 weeks away, my man. I do think that there's going to be resolution for Terry. Like the Commanders need him. They need him pretty badly. They're going to figure something out. And they're really, I mean, they got Jaylen on a rookie deal. They're not paying a ton of people big contracts over there. I would like to think that everything's going to work out and Terry will sign. If you guys remember, like, I don't think CeeDee Lamb or Jamar Chase were signed last year until like the week of. So sometimes it takes time. I don't know if I'm there yet. They do have different styles. Like Marvin wants to play big bully ball and out muscle you, junior that is. Senior was finesse, man. He was pure routes and getting open quickly and just racking up receptions. But I do think Marvin is probably a good click this season. We're on the board here. I'd like to look at some running backs here. I'm going to continue to take Zach Charbonnet. He's one of the running backs that I just want to try and get on my bench every time. One, because I think he's really good. I think we've seen him in a few auditions where Kenneth Walker's out, and all of a sudden Charbonnet is like a must-start running back. That preseason game, man, that offense ran the ball right down the field with him. Sam Darnold looked in command and control. Charbonnet, man, one of my favorite guys to stash. And now we're 5 deep at both receiver and running back. I'm nervous about Caleb Johnson, man. I didn't like him coming out. I didn't think he was all that special. One was because he struggled at pass protection and just he wasn't really asked to be a receiving back. And you have Jaylen Warren and you bring in Kenneth Gainwell. There's just, if you're not catching passes at the running back spot, you're probably not going to be on my team. Look at some of the guys that we drafted here. Hampton, Henderson, Jaylen Warren, Ekeler, and Zach Charbonnet. Like, I need pass-catching running backs. I'm not all that big into guys like – I don't draft a lot of Derrick Henry. I don't draft a lot of Braylon Allen. I don't draft a lot of these thumper types because I want the catches, man. And, yeah, we'll grade the teams at the end. And I do want to say if everyone – we got Aiden in here at the 106. I'm going to post this link back in here, guys. We're going to run a 10-team – it says 10-team Superflex. It's not a 10-team Superflex. Let me just – it's a 10-team PPR. But there's the link right here, guys. Join the league, and we'll get drafting here shortly after we finish ESPN and get reviewing some of the teams. I'm completely running it empty here on tight end. There's a lot of good tight ends left. Like, I'm willing to take chances on a lot of these guys. So I'm just going to take one more peek here and see if any running back or receiver should not be on the board still. I like Demario Douglas quite a bit. I think I'm okay, though. I could take Bashal Tutin, who I think is going to be a guy that looks pretty good. I do see one more guy that I just want to shout out here, and we're going to take him, and that's going to be Dylan Sampson. I'm going to take a chance on this rookie running back for Cleveland. I think he might be the best one there. I don't expect Quinshon Judkins to be a factor, especially early in the year, and he's still got to sign a contract. He's missed all training camp. Judkins might not even be a thing at any point this season. So we're looking at Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson as both being guys that I'm kind of interested in. Did anyone take Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt? I'm curious. Where did JCM go? All right, so Aiden grabbed him at 99. I think that's the right spot because, like, right next to Jordan Mason, like that feels pretty good. So that's kind of the line for me. When you start seeing Javonte, Tyrone Tracy go, that's when JCM probably needs to go. And I got one more bench spot, a tight end, and like, I'm running it pretty empty here on tight end. I don't care if I get 2 of these guys because I think I'm going to be able to figure it out as the year goes on. I think, my end game has always kind of been Zach Ertz. I'm very comfortable with this tight. Like, he was tight end 7 last year. Jaden Daniels, is going to dump it off to Zach Ertz a ton. He catches touchdowns, and he's going to be a 4 or 5 catch guy per game. But we're going to take Kyle Pitts. we're going to see what happens there. And if Zach Ertz comes back around, we'll do it. Pretty much ESPN ADP is really, really bad, guys. For me, I mean, I don't play like high stakes. I do a lot of the DraftKings and the drafters, you know, basically $20, $25 is the most I play as far as drafting a best ball team. But if you look at best ball ADP, which you guys can find on the fantasyfellowship.com, go check it out. DraftKings, drafters, and underdog, like that's where people are spending money to make their picks. Aiden's referencing a very high stake buy-in league, but these ADPs here, man, like you want to be in tune with what people are putting their money on right now, because ESPN, all these guys are priced incorrectly at this point, you know, especially guys like Ricky Pearsall, Egbuka. A lot of the rookies are soft ADPs here on ESPN. But yeah, that's a great shout out there. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why, you know, I kind of want to grab running back earlier here. I waited till the 3rd, 4th round to do it, but I'm happy to come away with a lot of the pulls there in the 5th through 9th round. I think there's a lot of guys that can easily be a solid wide receiver 2 or better. All good. So we completely waited for tight end, and we kind of get rewarded here. You know, if Kyle Pitts can't do it, you know, I paid next to nothing for him. We'll figure that out. But I'm going to take Zach Ertz here. Otherwise, you know, Darren Waller is there. If Charlene's in the draft, he's gone by now. But Brenton Strange interests me. I think Mason Taylor interests me a little bit. Maybe even Chigo Okonkwo. Like Chigo Okonkwo won me some money last year. He was in one of my best ball teams, and he was my best tight end at the end of the year. So I do think waiting for tight end is a pretty simple, tried and true strategy. We just got defenses and kickers left, so I'm going to take a peek here at Tony's team. And yeah, he's got one more pick left to make, but he's got Lamar Jackson, feels good. Chase Brown and RJ Harvey, I love that duo. Jamar Chase, Marvin Harrison at the top receiver spots, and we're flexing Tony Pollard, which we haven't talked about Tony Pollard tonight, but I'm pretty much all in on either Tony Pollard or Calvin Ridley being really good picks this year. Backup receiver Romo Dunze feels good. Christian Kirk is there. That feels good. And then we just went ham on the running backs. Mixon, Mason, Algier, Ray Davis, Nick Chubb. This is probably too many running backs for my liking. I might have maybe preferred at least one more receiver here. I don't draft a lot of Mixon. Again, I think he's going to be on the pup list, and it just the vibes are pretty bad all around there. So maybe I would have pulled Mixon off this team and grabbed maybe one more receiver or something, maybe a backup tight end. I do get worried about Tucker Kraft being my tight end one. I think it's going to be touchdown or bust, but you can say that about pretty much all the tight ends. So I think it's a good team. I wonder if we just grab too many, you know, we're going to be sitting on Chubb, Ray Davis, Algier. We're going to be sitting on a lot of players to start the year. And I just wonder if maybe that's too many guys to sit on and we need to take more guys that we're going to get answers on right away. If that makes sense here, I'm just going to keep drafting my 49ers D. But I love the construction of the starters. I think I just have maybe one or two differences with the bench spots, but they're all names that I like, aside from Mixon and Chubb probably. And then Harris sneaking in down here. Harris does not draft a QB. He's going to pull one here, a starting QB with his last pick. So we'll see how he does this. His running backs are Kamara, Breece Hall, Ramondre, Scatabo, Jaden Blue, Jerome Ford. That's a good mix. Receivers are Nico, BTJ, Terry McLaurin. That feels great. Pickens and Kupp and Addison on the bench. So he's pretty stocked at wide receiver, which feels good. I do have a little bit of nervousness waiting for Jonnu Smith there. I waited for tight end, though, so I totally get it. Maybe Jonnu Smith is the number 2 receiver on the Steelers. So I get it. For me, if I'm going to wait for tight end, I want it to be one of my last picks. So I'm interested in seeing how that works out. And then you guys know me. I'm all in on Trevor Lawrence this year. I think Lawrence is a top 10, top 12 QB. So I do like Harris's pull there. Aiden said not to review his team. I got a kicker to pick here. I like this team. I think I'm pretty sexy at wide receiver. Running backs are technically pretty sexy. We got 2 rookie running backs, Jaylen Warren, Ekeler, Charbonnet, and Dylan Sampson. We got 3 rookie running backs on the team. So this team could work, man. We're going to figure it out at running back along the way. We know we have good receivers. We'll figure tight end out along the way. But I think this team's got enough juice to get us to where we want to go. So that was a fun draft. Really high on Amon-Ra, Chase. So I'm like all the way in on Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown's one of my favorite players to pick right now. And I can't get enough. He belongs, I think, right next to Bucky Irving. My projections have Chase Brown higher than Bucky Irving. I think Bucky Irving is great, but I got Chase Brown at like RB7 maybe. So I'm very bullish there. We got 1, 2, 3 guys here, 4 guys. I'm going to be the 5th team in here. I'm going to go right next here to Honey's Dynasty. We're going to be team number 9. If anybody wants to get in here, it's like a few comments above. We got a few more spots here. I'll wait another minute or two for you guys. But I do want to say, hey, if you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, check out thefantasyfellowship.com. I did update my redraft rankings yesterday. I'm going to be doing the PPR projections, half PPR projections, and the standard projections. I'm updating all that stuff tomorrow. So cheat sheets will be fresh tomorrow for the weekend. If you guys need to draft, check out thefantasyfellowship.com. A lot of good stuff on there. And then all the in-season stuff too. We're going to be getting, weekly rankings and matchups and things like that. So without further ado, let's get this 10-team full PPR mock draft underway. Harris is going to kick us off. And I'm picking at 9th. I don't really know. I don't play a lot of 10-team leagues. I have a 10-team dynasty. That's my only 10-team league. I think for me, I want to. One of my main rules of thumb is I want to try and get a top 5 player at each position. Usually, tight end's the one that I skimp out on, and sometimes it's both. We'll see what we do in this one. I really don't like this pick. I think I want a top 5 pick in a 10-team league. Amon-Ra, Henry, Puka, Neighbors, Nico. A lot could go wrong here. I'm going to try something different. We're going to go Puka Nacua. And even if Matthew Stafford gets hurt and misses games, like Jimmy Garoppolo is there. Stetson Bennett's been kind of the preseason MVP. We've seen in the past, like look at what happened to CeeDee Lamb last year. We got 7 games of Dak, and then we see Cooper Rush come in, and CeeDee Lamb's still a top 10 wide receiver. So I know Puka Nacua is very talented. I'm not going to be afraid to draft my Puka Nacua here. And we're going to grab the old Brian Thomas, man, one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL. If I could buy – here's a question for you guys. If you could buy one jersey for this season, whose jersey are you buying? Because I think it's Brian Thomas for me. He's the one that I want. I already got a CeeDee Lamb jersey, so I probably would have said CeeDee Lamb. But to me, it's Brian Thomas Jr. I think he is the truth. But we start double wide receiver here. I'm going to be curious and see what running backs come back to me. We got a couple tight ends off the board so far. Aiden wants the J. So I have a really sexy DK Metcalf Seattle Seahawks jersey. It's kind of crazy. The amount of receiver jerseys that I have and they get traded, like I got a beautiful Titans AJ Brown jersey. I have a beautiful DK Metcalf jersey. There's probably a couple other guys on there. And I have bad luck with some jerseys, man. The Travis Hunter jersey would be cool. So I'm a huge Packer guy. I don't really have a Packer jersey that I wear. I think Matthew Golden would probably be my choice if I'm going to grab a Packer jersey. I don't have a Jordan Love jersey yet, but I think a Matthew Golden one would be kind of cool. I do like McConkey. I think McConkey could be kind of fun too. There goes Chase Brown. So Chase Brown, 3.5. I cannot get him. And to me, this is kind of where the running backs really start to look kind of weird. Kieran, Cook, Hall, Kamara, Hampton. Like we can poke holes in all of these guys. I think Chase Brown is the last of the stud running backs. And then you have the receivers are about to wear out thin. I think JSN belongs in this elite tier. But after that, we get a little bit questionable at receiver. So I'm assuming Aiden's going to grab JSN here, and we'll go from there. Oh, he grabs Ken Walker. Interesting. Yeah, I do think the only thing I'm unsure on Henderson is what's the rushing volume going to look like. That does make me a little bit nervous. We just don't know how many carries Ramondre is going to get to make things complicated. I'm going to grab Omarion Hampton here just to be my rock. And at this point, I'm probably going to grab a wide receiver. I don't hate grabbing Jayden Daniels here, though. I get exposure to a top 5 QB. That does feel pretty good. Not a lot of yards, but he does get 200 plus carries. I would be shocked if we see TreVeyon get up to 200 plus carries this season. And those carries, man, if the difference between 15 carries and 5 carries, that could be 40, 50 yards, right? So he is missing that extra 3-4 yards per game points that Kamara is going to be getting. So I still think I have Kamara higher. They could. I think TreVeyon's going to be rushing for well over 5 yards a carry this season. I'm going to try Jayden Daniels. We'll see how it goes. So we get a top 5 QB. We have 2 potential top 5 receivers. I think Hampton's a top 10 running back potential. So we didn't get a top 5 option at each position, but I do feel good about Hampton just locked into my team all year. There is the opportunity where Ramondre gets hurt and all of a sudden TreVeyon Henderson's getting the ball 20 times a game. I think that's the smash upside ceiling that took me a while to finally understand with TreVeyon Henderson. I think if Ramondre stays healthy and plays the whole year, we're going to be disappointed in what TreVeyon ends up doing. He's going to catch, 50, 60 passes, but that's on the high outcome. So I get a little nervous with TreVeyon Henderson because we're kind of drafting him to be a top 15, top 20 running back. And to me, that feels almost like his ceiling. But unless he's ripping off huge chunks of plays, huge yardage, huge touchdowns, that's where he's going to make us very happy as fantasy owners. And Harris grabs the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase stack. So he's got a well-balanced start over there. And I do like Mike Evans. I'll tell you what, Mr. Magic, I'm completely out on Garrett Wilson. The guys after Garrett Wilson here, Terry, Marvin, Evans, Adams. I can even list Metcalf, Jameson, Willett. Like there's too many other receivers that I'd rather have over Garrett Wilson for where he's being drafted. So I'm completely out on Garrett Wilson. I don't want to pay a 4th round pick for him right now. I'd rather have Tet McMillan. I'd rather have Jameson Williams. I think he more so belongs down here with the Waddles and the Ridleys and the Judys and things like that. So I think he is priced off maybe by 2 or 3 rounds. But I'm on the clock here. Nobody picked Xavier Worthy, which is interesting. We got Rashee Rice going at 5'7", who's going to get suspended. We just don't know for how many games. And then I was just looking at Xavier Worthy's numbers the other day and what he did in the playoff. No, they don't show the playoffs, but his playoff numbers were just insane. Like we're talking like stud numbers. Harris is looking for some people to join a league. Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. And I don't know, man. I don't feel great about it. I really just don't feel great about it. I do feel great about, whether it's, I'd rather have DK Metcalf, Pickens, Jameson Williams. I'm going to keep taking my Jameson Williams here. They do show playoffs. I really don't like Sleeper Man. There we go. Where's the playoff numbers? I'm not seeing it. All right, here's those Xavier Worthy numbers I was mentioning. All right, Super Bowl, he drops 35. Championship game, 22. An 8.7, whatever. But a 22, a 20, a 19, man. He just completely blossomed into Pat Mahomes' number one wide receiver at the end of last year. And we do know Rashee Rice is missing some games, and he's also coming back from a serious knee injury. I think there's a chance where Worthy could be a top 10, top 12 wide receiver this season. And Jason's back. Good evening to Jason. Hope you're doing well, my man. Good to see you. I'm interested in DJ Moore. What's his price tag here? Has he been already drafted? I think this is a good price on DJ Moore. I don't think it's going to be a big year because I think they got a lot of mouths to feed. They like Odunze, they like Burden, they like Loveland. I think it might be just like everybody kind of has their big game every now and then, but I do think DJ Moore is going to be a solid starting asset for us all year long. But we're on the clock here. I don't have a running back too. This one's pretty easy though. I'm just going to grab my Tony Pollard here and feel really, really good about that in my RB2 spot. I've never really been a big DeAndre Swift guy. I just don't think he's all that great of a runner, but he is the receiving profile that we're looking for. And honestly, you know, his profile is probably the same as TreVeyon Henderson's profile, yet we draft TreVeyon Henderson miles and miles ahead of ADP. Where did Henderson go yet? Yeah, he went here, round 5. So I do like DeAndre Swift. If I'm in a pinch and I need a running back, I think he's a good pick, but I usually don't look for DeAndre Swift. And Baker Mayfield just went off the board here. I like my options here at tight end with Mark Andrews quite a bit. If I want to pull a tight end, I still think he's a top 5, top 6 option at the position. But again, there's still some guys here that are just way too cheap in terms of ADP, whether it's Matthew Golden, Ricky Pearsall, and Emeka Egbuka. Those are my 3 dudes this year. If you guys watch my stuff and you guys want me to tell you which receivers to be drafting in the middle rounds, I think those are the 3 guys that I'm going to try and make sure you get at least 1 or 2 of these receivers. I think they're all going to pay off ADP, and they're all going to be really nice picks. Rome Odunze just went off the board. I still like Judy and Olave, but those guys just don't really feel all that great. I'm going to continue to take Emeka Egbuka well ahead of ADP. I think Tyreek's value is right about where we're at now in the draft. Like, you're going to put him next to Ricky Pearsall, Egbuka, Odunze. You know, the fact that Jaylen Waddle is going here in the 7th round and Tyreek goes here in the 4th, that doesn't make sense to me. So I would push Tyreek Hill down to, you know, this Travis Hunter, Calvin Ridley tier, right in this Jerry Jeudy Olave spot. This is kind of the value for him. So I think he's probably, you know, in a 10-team league here, like, he should be a 7th or 8th round pick. In a 12-team league, he's probably a 6th round pick for me. Yeah, everything else around Swift is not super exciting, but he catches passes. So, like, I do get it. I do think the Bears offense is going to be exciting this year. I do not see Travis Kelce finishing top 5. I just don't think he has the juice to get yards after the catch. He's going to be kind of like how Jason Witten was at the end of the career, you know, 8 yards and down is what Kelce's going to be this season. And where Kelce could grow and he could surprise is the touchdown category. He only had 3 last year. But I am pretty worried about him just not being athletic anymore enough to be super excited about. So I think Ingram can get there. Ingram could easily have 80 catches this year. And then Andrews, I think Andrews is the big sleeper at tight end for this season. And receivers are still on the board. I mean, I need running backs, but damn, like, I'll put Matthew Golden on my bench and see what happens. And then I think I'm done. I got 6 really good receivers. Tyler Warren, good pick there. I do think Evan Ingram would fit my team pretty well here because I do think Ingram does have top 5 potential at the position. His issue has just been staying healthy, but you pair him with Bo Nix, which I think is a really good quarterback for him. We'll take a chance here on Evan Ingram. I think maybe I do have a chance at a top 5 tight end here. David Njoku, Njoku goes really cheap because everyone's nervous about the QB. But I think Njoku is going to be fine. You're going to be happy with him. He's probably got a chance to lead the team in targets. And then I've also seen a lot of trade rumors. Like, the Browns could just simply trade David Njoku weeks 4, 5, 6 to a better situation. And all of a sudden, Harold Fannin becomes interesting, and maybe David Njoku gets unlocked somewhere. You know, that could totally be true. So I think Njoku is a good baseline where it's just like, I'm just going to wait for Njoku and pull him in the middle of the draft, I think that's fine. Because after that, that's where we get into the questions. Like, look at the guys left on the board. Jonnu, Loveland, Kincaid. I think Kraft is probably a good one. But there's just a lot of questions where I know for a fact Njoku is going to be heavily targeted still, especially with Joe Flacco. Everyone will point to Tyrone Tracy's fumble issues, but I believe fumbles can be something that can be learned and corrected. Tracy's talented, man. He's still a former receiver learning how to play running back. And the fact that he was ripping off 100-yard games and big plays, good receiving back, I think we could be sleeping on Tyrone Tracy. That's probably one of my favorite pulls there at the 8.6. He's definitely a guy, especially if I'm – and what I like here, what you did too, is like you didn't need to take TreVeyon Henderson here. So, like, there's ways to draft him and to feel good about it. And you've kind of created an ecosystem with this team where you don't need TreVeyon Henderson. He's just a bonus, and you can start him when you need to. And same thing with Tyrone Tracy. You didn't need Tyrone Tracy here, but he's going to be valuable. He's going to be 10 to 15 points per game. And it's just Devin Singletary behind him. Cam Scatterbo still got to get – he's practicing this week, but he's still got a lot of ground to gain to get into this offense. So I think I'm willing to take a chance on Tracy, especially as your RB4. That does feel pretty good. Yeah, so for me, the receivers that I'm really targeting in the middle rounds of the draft, Xavier Worthy shouldn't count. He's not he's a guy that should be going well higher. But for me, it's Worthy and Jameson Williams are two guys that I really like in that, 4th, 5th round range. Pickens is another one. But after that, like Emeka Egbuka, Ricky Pearsall, and Matthew Golden. I think all three of those guys should be probably like 7th round picks. Golden probably leads the Packers in receptions, targets, yards, and touchdowns this year as the receiver one. Egbuka could easily lead the Buccaneers in receptions this year, especially with the McMillan injury now and Chris Godwin not playing the first month. And then I do think Ricky Pearsall, like, it's just very clear that he's going to be a guy that Brock Purdy trusts, and he's going to throw the ball to a ton this season. But hey, we're on the clock here. I kind of have all my needs met. I'm just going to just draft a J.K. Dobbins here. I need running back depth. I don't feel great about J.K. Dobbins, but on my bench, I'll see what happens. Yeah, I do think Luther Burden's a good guy to have at the end of your bench. It might take some time for him to develop, but I can guarantee you over the year he's going to get better and better. If he is a good NFL player, he's going to get better as the year goes on. So, if you're holding a player that you're not super excited about, like Luther Burden shouldn't be hanging around on the waiver wires. I actually like Deebo Samuel, man. If you think about it, Jaden Daniels has really been able to throw to Deebo and Zach Ertz in training camp all summer long. I think Deebo could be one of those guys that gets off to a hot start. And then the other thing that I've been thinking about, and let me know if you guys are thinking about the same thing, maybe one of the reasons why they're okay with losing Brian Robinson Jr. is because like Deebo is just going to get 50 carries this year. What if Deebo is just RB2 some days? That could totally be true. So Deebo, he's one of those guys that I usually don't like to draft older receivers like that, but he could be one of those guys that gets off to a really, really hot start in September and you look really smart drafting him. And I think the Commanders have a plan for him, and he's going to be a guy that's heavily involved in their offense. Because, after Terry, the running backs are all kind of meh. Like, Deebo could be a huge identity piece in this offense. Omarion Hampton is the clear running back one. Najee Harris still has not practiced with the team after blowing up his eye on the 4th of July. He has been doing like light jogging stuff on the sideline while they're practicing. And if you guys have watched my stuff in the last few, like Najee Harris is not my favorite running back. I view him pretty poorly as a NFL talent. I think he's just a guy that is competent. If you need 3 yards, he'll get you 3. If you need 5 yards, he'll get you 3 kind of thing. So to me, it's wheels up for Omarion Hampton. I think he could be, again, first round running backs in the actual NFL draft. Those are the guys we want on our team. And yeah, Egbuka, man, like, don't get me wrong, Mike Evans is going to be a good pick. I think Evans is still locked in to lead the team in yards and probably touchdowns, but I think there's this – if we're putting Emeka Egbuka in the Chris Godwin role, like Chris Godwin was a league-winning pick last year until he got hurt. And just everything we've seen coming out of Tampa Bay is holy shit. Like Egbuka is really good. So to me, Egbuka, Pearsall, Golden, those are 3 guys that I'm willing to be a little bit higher on in drafts next coming weeks. Would you like grabbing a top 4 QB in a start 7 format? What's a start 7 format? If Allen Lamar are there in the 3rd, would you grab either or wait for Jaylen, Jaden? So for me, like, and I usually don't draft a lot of Jaden Daniels. I just wanted to try something different in this one. I think if you don't like what you're seeing in the 3rd round, grab Lamar, grab Josh Allen. Only, take one of those QBs if you don't like the surroundings. Otherwise, that, hey, I can just grab a really good quarterback in the next round. So to me, it's kind of based on what everyone's giving me. I don't want to force anything too crazy, but I got to make a quick pick here. We'll put Dylan Sampson on the bench. So I'm not sure what a start 7 is: QB, running back, receiver, tight end, flex. Yeah, I think in that point, like, I need a top 5 QB at the position. So I would go looking, if that's the plan, wait for round 3, evaluate the board. If Chase Brown falls, I'm taking Chase Brown. Chase Brown's kind of the cutoff for the running backs, and I do think JSN's probably the cutoff for wide receivers. If I can't get one of those guys, I'll probably take a QB. And I think Josh Allen here, that's like the right spot for Josh Allen, because we see JSN, Chase Brown, McConkey all off the board. So that's kind of what I look for. And that just makes sense to me. But I'm back on the clock. Don't really want to back up tight end. I'm going to take a chance here on Keenan Allen and see what happens. I know Luther Burden's there too. Ayuk is usually, his price is great. Like round 12, I'm willing to see what happens, but it's very rare. And I believe he tore both the ACL and the MCL. It's just very rare to see a player come back his first year from a bad tear like this and to be good, or at least as good as he was before injury. So to me, if I needed a receiver there, I probably would have maybe put Keon Coleman on my team, or like how I grabbed Keenan Allen as someone that I'm going to see week 1. Hey, holy shit, Keon Coleman just caught 6 passes for 2 touchdowns and 80 yards. I think that's kind of my thought is Ayuk we're not going to see until October. I want to try and get as many answers right as early as possible. So I don't really take a lot of Ayuk. He's just not a guy that I want to be patient with. He could look good, but just history suggests that it's going to be 2026 that Ayuk will be better. We'll look at Aiden's team here in a second. Yeah, and the 49ers have had a really rough summer this season. Aiden's liking his team here. He's pretty well balanced, too. We got Bijan, Walker, Harvey, and Swift, and Jordan Mason, and Tootin at the running back spot. So he's covered on running back all year. Malik, Sutton, Pearsall, Diggs. I think that's enough for your 4 guys to figure it out. And you got Pittman and Mooney down here. We'll see if Mooney can come back week 1. And then waiting for Dak Prescott remains to be one of my favorite strategies. And then you got George Kittle. So this is a really good draft here from Aiden. I like what we got going on here. But we got the final round here. If you guys do have any final questions get them in. I'm going to get out of here in a couple minutes. I think tomorrow night I'm going to upload a video. I'm going to talk all 32 teams and just basically give you guys my quick thoughts on all 32 players. It's going to be a longer video, maybe an hour and a half. That could be as long as it goes. But I'll be back. I'm not sure if I'm going to get a video out this weekend. If you guys are drafting and you guys need a discount code for the fantasyfellowship.com, just email me. There's an email address on the website homepage. You guys can hit me up, and I'll send you a coupon code at the 10th team. Yeah, we'll take a look at the 10th team here. And if that's you, Grant, welcome. In the last pick here, who's the first player I'm going to cut? Who's the first player I'm going to cut on this team? Drake May. Man, I don't know. It's all a bunch of junk. What am I going to do here? Fine, I'll take Zach Ertz, Old Faithful. All right, let's take a look at Grant's team here. Alrighty, I'm going to zoom in here. All right, we start with Nico and Achan, both the two guys that I like quite a bit, Kieran Williams and T. Higgins. So we had a really nice balanced start. I don't draft a lot of Chuba Hubbard, but I'm fine with Hubbard, especially as your RB3. And then we take a chance on McMillan. So that might be too much Carolina for my liking. I think if I'm going to choose Carolina, I'm just going to choose one of those guys. Baker Mayfield at the 7, you get a top 10 quarterback, which feels good. Romo Dunze, wide receiver 4, feels good. I like that you grabbed Tyler Warren and then you finished with Goddard. Just we're going to see how week 1 goes and then go from there. So I like the tight end room. And then, yeah, on your bench, man, Warren, Krosky Merritt, and Trey Benson, like you're built pretty well. And then you did take a shot too on Caleb Williams, man. This looks really, really solid. I think you're well built. Like you have all the answers here. And I do like waiting for tight end. I think Warren and Goddard, you're going to figure that out along the way. But for the most part here, I think you have all your bases covered. I maybe would have liked – no, I think this is good, man. You got 4 good receivers and 4 good running backs, and we'll see about Merritt and Trey Benson at whatever times they become active. But this looks really good there, Grant. I think this looks fantastic. And yeah, that's one of my favorite videos to make every year. I'm probably going to do it once a week. I'll probably do it again next weekend. We got preseason games tomorrow night, guys. So that's pretty exciting. We got 41 people watching, and Grant's drafting tomorrow. So good luck to Grant. Again, if you guys want to check out the fantasyfellowship.com, check it out. I got my projections, rankings, cheat sheets, everything up there. I will be updating cheat sheets tomorrow. So if you need anything for the weekend, go check it out. If you need a coupon code, email me. My email address is on the homepage. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you guys are new. It helps me grow. And yeah, stay tuned. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be uploading that big video. And if you guys ever have questions, hit me up on Twitter, X at the fellow KGB. And just hit me up, man. I'm down to talk shop and figure out plans and all that good stuff. So thank you guys. Good luck to Grant tomorrow. Thank you everybody for watching this evening. We'll see you soon. Peace.